You're listening to Parasearch Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show. My name is Kerry Greenaway and as always I'm joined in the studio by my lovely two men. Mr. Marcus Manius is here. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening.
Ooh. And the lovely Carl Hutchinson. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening, everybody, and it's lovely. It's a beautiful evening in the UK, broadcasting all around the world. So, hello, good evening, good morning, schlanch, up ya, g'day. Thank you very much.
Okay.
He's going to turn around in a minute and go, hello, good evening, and welcome.
Before we begin, I would just like to say the PSH radio show had technical issues last night, but the full episode is now available to listen on all those multiple platforms that are out there. But your main ones are Spreaker and YouTube. So listen to the whole interview. It was a fantastic interview with Calvin Von Crush. Brilliant job. It's just a shame that the last 15 minutes for some reason cut. But the whole interview is now out there, so go over and have a little listen to that one.
And can I just say, the 40 minutes of the show that you actually heard was amazing, and I've had feedback. It's great. Multiple people have contacted me today and said it was great. But you need to listen to the last 15 minutes of the show because of one reason only. We do have a little bit of a giggle. We do have a little bit of a laugh. So please click on the link, click on those links that we shared today and listen to the last 15 minutes of the show, have a giggle, comment on it. That is the major point.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, so tonight, multiple topics on the table. Mark Manny has been hard at work going out and finding us lots of shit with wonderful links to share for us. Some of them we are unable to share and talk about because they were just a little bit too weird. Some really interesting topics on the table tonight. So first off, now this actually comes from American, I would say the Bible Belt, everybody.
You know the Bible Belt in the US, gun-toting Bible and hello, sweethearts.
I didn't know you followed the American Bible Belt, Mark.
You know what? Funnily enough,
oh,
I don't. I mean, me being, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Carry on.
Is my internet going boobs up again?
It's a little bit juddery.
It is. Right. Okay.
Shout around the house, tell all your people in the house, get off on the internet.
I will do. Right, anyway, as I was saying, no, the Bible bashy stuff, that is really, really not me. But I know exactly what you're on about. You're on that was the thing that I sent to you guys, and I was just like, no, have a look at this nutter. Yeah. All right, shall read you the headline.
Go for it.
There's a Bible bashy radio host in America called Christian Brian Fisher. And he's one of these people who said in the past that the world's going to end and this, that, and the other. But apparently, for all you, and this is where we get the link from. I got it in early. The alien link for this one is sponsored by Christianity TV. This is his direct words, okay? Oh, dear God. Right. I say, boy, got a real pro. Using UFOs to distract us from Jesus. And those are his exact words. Satan, or Saturn, I'm not quite sure what he means, is using UFOs to distract us from Jesus.
Okay. So Satan is the ultimate deceiver. He is the ultimate Satan. And he's now using UFOs to basically channel us away from the word of Christ. Correct?
The UFOs aren't real. They're all done by the big nasty man. Personally, I thought he was in power. I'm going to be in pinch, but that's another matter. So we will just see what happens there. But yes, according to this young man in North America, there's no such thing of aliens. They're all to do with Saturn. But my thing is, remember we spoke...
Okay. Sorry, Mark. I will come back to you in a second, but just like to apologise. I didn't realise as I'm talking, my headphones are on, but there was outside noise, so I've just made sure those outside noise are now cut off. So I do apologise if you heard weird and wonderful little squeals and whatevers.
No,
when Mark
we didn't pick it up.
Yeah, sorry. I do apologise. It's now off. So, Mark.
We didn't pick up. We only got your squeaky fart that you did.
That's fine.
Right,
that's absolutely fine. I squeaked and farted, and that's okay.
That's okay then.
Anyway, back to topic.
We've spoken about before when we said about aliens and this and the other, and how the Bible and various religious texts picks it up as a war between good and bad, but it's actually not just good and bad. It's people from different dimensions with different powers. So technically, if he's saying it's not UFOs, it's that darn horned guy. It's from a different dimension, so technically it's aliens.
Well, we have talked about this before, haven't we? I mean, this links into the ancient alien theory and how religion has basically sort of changed it a little bit into a different terminology, mythology kind of thing, and that's how religion has evolved from the ancient alien theory. Still struggle a little bit with this one.
It's but the trouble is, you know yourself. I mean, I don't want people to get upset and jump on the bandwagon and go, "Good damn it, he's taking the mickey out of our Bible Belt." I'm not, because if anybody wants to have religion, that's good on them. Everybody needs something to believe in. Okay, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, no one knows. But when you've got people that literally just make money out of scaring the bejesus out of people, that's when I do say, no, that's wrong. You should not be a naughty person. And unfortunately, this is one of those people. He has done stuff before.
Carl, what's your take on this one?
Okay, this is a tough one because of the nature, because of where we are in the world, and because of one major reason only. The nature of the people, the environment, it's one of those difficult situations. Me personally, I kind of think that you have to put your baggage at the door, step on board without your baggage, and forget the baggage behind you, whether it's good baggage, bad baggage, and just step on board.
You're talking about my exes?
Well, I'm not talking about your exes. I'm just talking about technically, if you... Okay. No, I don't want to say this, but I am going to say this. Me, personally, what Mark just said, on that particular moment, and that particular comment, I think it's a load of absolute hogwash.
Well, I think you're right.
No proof, no physical proof, no blah-de-blah-de-blah. I think it's just typical deep South American...
Yeah.
Anything that threatens their belief system, somebody who's that, and this,
yeah.
we're not just talking about America, anybody who is like zealously religious, so this could cover the entire world. Anybody who's that set in their belief system will twist anything to fit their belief system. So with this guy, he's so religiously zealous that he's saying that, you know, it's Satan who's making you believe that. So he's deceiving you. So Satan is deceiving you all into thinking it's something more, something different, quite frankly.
You're totally right. You're totally right, Kerry, because basically this person is saying there's black and white. Black is Satan, white is God. And if you don't believe in either, you are nowhere in between. Mm-hmm. So you have to believe in either black or white.
And if you believe in aliens, you're a heathen. You're a heathen.
Oh, forget aliens, because aliens wouldn't even come into that mark. We're talking Satan. Not Satan. Well, we're talking the different names
Saturn?
of those. Saturn. We're talking whatever you want to call. You want to talk hot or cold?
Beelzebub.
Yeah, you know things. The two different concepts of one religion. Because at the end of the day, yin and yang, where you've got black and white, or you've got all the other things. You have the positive, you have the negative, you have the horrible, you have the light, all this sort of thing. So whether you say this, that, and the other, it depends on who you believe, how many people believe you, and we go from there.
As I'm just looking at the chat room, everybody. Welcome everybody into the chat room. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello,
if you're listening, then comment. We want your interaction on this show. Now, my lovely James Steele is in there. He said, any excuse to give external reasons why people are questioning religion's old ways and universe in general, and that the church has managed to flip some paranormal to their own means, demons, scratches in the Trinity of Three, and possession. And it is basically a belief system. You know, everyone's got one. It's just what one you subscribe to, really, you know, from everything else. The laugh of it is Pan is nowadays sort of been evolved through into Christianity to Satan, which is the interesting part about it. So really old belief systems have evolved through cultural and belief systems and has now become something else. I couldn't leave it there with this one because I actually had to look into Satanists because I don't know a lot about Satanists.
Oh, don't get me started. The Church of Satan and nonsense like that. Oh, just no.
But you can't say that.
No, you can't, because I've been to the Church of Satan in Salem.
Lord, yes.
I've been to the Church of Satan, and I've spoken to the guy that runs the place. I've spoken to several other people that were there that day. And that's a very, very interesting conversation we had.
They have a very different concept, and Satan is not worshipped as a deity.
No, it's not. The thing is, most people out there that listen to this or wherever they are will think, "Oh, we're talking Satan. It's evil. It's dark. It's whatever." But if you listen to these type of people and listen to their rules and conversations and their information that they live by, it isn't. Because when I was there in April, we went to the Church of Satan, which has the most amazing place inside an old funeral home in Salem. And you go in there and you wander around. This guy talks you through. Yes, he's for tourism, playing up on the whole bad side of it. But once you walk around and look at some of the effigies, the items on the wall, even some of the statues, even some of this, it's not down to being the evil side. They are looking at a different point of view to the positive side. And that's where I think everybody gets confused over.
And there are factions within, you know, Satanism is almost like an umbrella term. There's lots of different factions within that. And there is a belief system that those who worship Satan or Lucifer, actually, he was the goodie in the war with God. He was the goodie. He weren't the baddie because he was trying to rebel against God because of all the bad things that were happening to the humans. And he had formed relationships, positive relationships with the humans, and was actually trying to stop God from doing all the horrible things that he was planning on doing. So, you know, so there is different factions within this. So to umbrella it that, and that's where we link into the ancient alien theory. You've got the good one and you've got the bad one, but it has been media driven, and I use that term loosely because word of mouth is media as much as what you read in the newspapers and stuff like that. So go back a million years or however many years human race has been around and look at those things. So Lucifer was actually the goodie. He was trying to save mankind when God was a baddie who was going to flood the earth and kill us all off and disappear off into the cosmos again. So when you think about it, it does kind of link into the ancient alien theory even on that level, right?
I was going to say it's like we've said before with all the other things that we've read. When you look at all the different texts, religious texts and stuff, and if you with an open mind, and then you find everything that's happened along the same timeline, and then you work it out, it is very much somebody got upset with the way things were going, said, I don't agree with this. And even if you read into like the ancient Sumerians, the Babylonians, and the Gilgamesh, at the end.
Yeah, but Mark, you got to realise one other thing.
They had one,
and this is
had enough.
Sorry, Mark. I'm just sorry I interrupted you, but I'm just saying, I completely agree with what Kerry just said, what Mark's just said. But if you look at another point of view, you've got people are looking at different points of view, and yes, nowadays Satan or the different names that come up with that person or whatever, that religion or whatever you want to call it, then you have God and all the different names, and you look at it and you come down and down and down. They crisscross over the years. Thousands of years, crisscross in every single point of time. You have got good, you've got bad. Yin, yang, you have got all the different ways of looking at it. And what Carrie's just said is a major positive in my eyes, is because potentially we may be at some point have been detoured through our life to look at, we can't do that because of that. So you go down that road, and then you carry on down that road and go on and on and on. But at the end of the day, you should be looking at the road you just bypass, where religion, happiness, wealth is doing one job. Mm. And we are over here doing the other job, and then you bring in the whole evil part of it. That's the key. Evil, death, horrible, negative. But when you bring it into a ball and you go, just manipulate that, you don't know which way you're looking at it. What do you guys think?
Mark?
I think that with everything, with every story, fable, because I mean, all the religious texts are the greatest stories ever told. None of us knows the truth. None of us knows about the conclave that was there, and none of us knows why they argued or why they said no. The Bible of Mary is not going in there. This is going in there. That's going in there. We all know, however, that religion is used in a lot of places to control people and to make people behave. It's used as a set of rules to make people, behave by. But if you take it back to its bare basics, there was people who had, I won't say powers, but there was people who had powers or technology that we still haven't got to this day. And there was two sets of them. One was supposedly good, one was supposedly bad, but they had a scrap on our planet, and then they ventured off elsewhere. So if you take that into concept, whatever you believe, there's still that basis of truth in there, that something happened, there was a war, but because of what happened, because we didn't understand, and because these men went, we're going to use this to control people, it's written down as good versus evil, and we just don't know.
Have either of you read the Bible?
Do I look like I've read the Bible? No, I can honestly say I haven't. I've read bits of it, but it's not my sort of reading material.
Okay.
I read the Bible for 4 years before we moved vocations.
Okay. I see, because I hold my hands up. I've read bits of the Bible, not the whole thing. But there is a huge amount, and when we've looked at this concept before of some of the biblical stories, and they are quite paranormal. There is a lot of paranormal in the Bible, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's down to one thing only and one thing only. It's down to a belief system.
True.
Yeah.
True.
If
And
you don't
faith.
believe it, you believe one way. If you do believe it, you believe the other way. It's the whole thing about, do you believe that Jesus, at some point in his life, was the all-seeing, all God, and he could then go do 50 fishes, wine, blue, whatever, on the banks of things when starving people and just touch things. Is that true? Or is it a story about somebody who gave his intelligence to heal people because he had ideas? Or something. It's a bit like saying about, Robinson squash. The squash system. Because in the day, Robinson squash, you have a bottle that can go. You put loads of water in, and you get half the bottle. But if you put half the bottle, you're going to get double the bottle. Like about the wine and the fishes. Is it down to that?
Or is it... Right, so there's two concepts there, but I don't want to get into individual miracles and stuff like that, because we have kind of covered that before. So I want to talk about faith. All religion, all belief systems, you have to have a certain amount of faith. So you have to suspend rationality to have faith, blind faith, when you take a step into the unknown in whatever journey, whether that be a new job, whether that be a new relationship, those sort of things. It's a step of blind faith. You don't know how that journey is going to go. You don't know where that's going to lead you or what opportunities, whether it's going to be a positive thing or a negative thing in your life. We all have to have a certain amount of faith. Where do we then draw the line? Are we overthinking, over-questioning these things, scriptures? And I'm not just talking about the Bible in particular, but other scriptures as well. Are we overthinking them, or should we just take them on face value?
Mark, you go for that one and I'll answer after.
Well,
that sounds like a rant might be coming.
Seeing as I've got the biggest gob, with me, if you read religious texts nowadays with our technology and our level of knowledge and understanding, and you read it as it should be read, as a pretty interesting story with UFOs and people with ray guns and special powers and flying around the air and zapping each other and stuff. It makes for a good Flash Gordon film, something like that. It does make for a good story. But if you read it with the knowledge and level of technology we had back then when all this was supposed to have happened, it's going to be the books that we live by, the words that we live by. Oh, if you do this, if you do that, you're damned. If you do this, if you do that, you are going to be shot down. You're going to go downstairs and this, that, and the other. My own view, I think it was just it was a good idea at the time, because it was a set of rules and instructions of how to live a good life and be good and not upset the people up on high.
Carl, do I dare ask you?
I'm going to sit back and eat a sandwich.
Okay, I'm gonna do this in 3 segments. The first segment, which Paul Mark mentioned, is the first part, which is the first hub of a Christmas tree. Is the whole thing about, do you believe, do you this, whatever, and you believe this and you believe that, and it's just there. Fair enough. But let's go back to the bottom of the tree. And my belief for this is a major part of this is, do you believe scriptures? Do you believe stories that were written 50, 60, 100, 200 years after the fact, which the Bible is? The Bible is not written as then and there. It's all about urban myth.
Yeah.
And the major key about urban myth, which you look at nowadays, if you get, I'll tell you what, let's try this. You have 10 people in your Facebook, your friend page. You message them and said, right, we're gonna send a message to you as a voicemail, and let's see what the answer is after 10 people.
Like
so
Chinese
one person
whispers.
says, that, yeah, Chinese, exactly, Mark. You're talking Chinese whispers. So you say, I am God. I can guarantee by the time, even nowadays, via text, voicemail, whatever, by the time you go from the message 1 to message 10, it's going to come out as a different thing. And I think that's where it comes to stories of that time.
Yeah.
I would say, if you look at the Bible, you look at the first story of the Bible, the first chapter, whatever you want to call it, whether you're religious or not or whatever, there is a story about the birth of Jesus. And then this, that, and the other that moved through the years. And it's got to be mouth on mouth, history on history, blah, 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 urban myth, blah, 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 blah. By the time it comes down and it's written down in a book where somebody goes, I'll tell you what, I'm so interested. I've heard all these different stories. I'm going to write the whole stories down. That's like 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 400 years since the actual time. So it's an urban myth. Yes, potentially there was somebody back in the day who was special or a whatever. They might have done something where they went, I'll tell you what, instead of drinking this water that's in the river, maybe filter it a little bit and drink it through a muslin, like a bit of cloth, and you're going to get unpurified water. All of a sudden, it's water to wine. Down years and whatever. So, do you believe this? Do you believe that? I personally believe it's down to what you believe, and you have to take the theories behind it, the myth behind it, and look at every possible way of looking at it. That's my shit.
Okay. Not quite sure what that had to do with the question, but hey.
It's aliens. It's aliens. End of. It's aliens.
Talking of aliens.
You asked me a question and I put up on the question. Jesus, what? I don't know.
Anyway, talking of aliens, let's move on to the next thing we found, the next one. Now, this was in the Express, because it's got to be true, right, if it's in the Express. Antarctica discovery, mysterious man-made cave exposed on Google Maps. What is hiding? Absolutely ridiculous article, I will say. I'm going to actually share this one into the chat room so people can actually have a look at the images of what they're talking about. Now, the reason this is here is the conspiracy theorists have been out in force on this one. And found a cave that they said was man-made. No proof of that, but that's what they said. And then, 6 years later or whatever it was, it had gone. Oh my God! Have they not heard of heaving? Have they not heard of the amount of movement ice makes?
Can I just say, melting.
But you've also got to remember one thing. I think back in the 1950s, 60s, there was this whole thing, which, funny enough, I watched a program yesterday about, where they believed up in the tundra, the land that is linked between Alaska and Russia, of secret underground bases.
Yeah.
And they had video, they had this, that, and the other, and they then flew over and did modern technology and this, that, and the other. And they brought up several places where things happened back in 40s and 50s and 60s. And there's these anomalies, what they found. To me personally, and it's just me personally, and Mark, I will open it up to you afterwards. I personally think this possibly could be true because it's a place in the middle of nowhere there isn't film crews, there isn't this, that, and the other, where they potentially could land, take off, look at things, not saying alien, but things that are happening in both governments. If you look at Russia, you look at the US, this place could happen on either side.
What?
Mark?
That there's like a cave that could house thousands and thousands of people in the Antarctica. Yes. That you think that's a viable option?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Mark.
Right. I know just after the Second World War, the US... No, just before the Second World War, US Navy sent... I can't remember his name, but there's an expedition down there. And he claims, and so did all his men, and it was documented, that their ship was attacked by 2 UFOs because they got too close to something. And when you factor that in, and then you put in all the, as you said, conspiracy theorists going on about hollow Earth and UFO bases and this, that, and the other, and then you've got the hole that's supposed to be there that somebody flew in. Remember?
Yeah,
because we did show on it.
Yeah, I remember the hollow Earth theory.
If you factor all that in, and the fact that the Nazis had a base there and were supposed to be doing UFOs there and stuff, and I'm taking my time with this one because I'm watching. Actually, have an epileptic fit by the looks of it. You factor all that stuff in, and then you've now got there's a huge continent underneath there, and there's a settlement underneath the ice and everything.
No,
quite frankly, it's an out of the way place. There are lots of caves there. You could get away with having something there for a long time and nobody would know.
No. We're not talking a major base. We're not talking UFOs. We're not talking bases that you can run from up in the tundra down to various different places in the USA where you can move missiles around and all that malarkey. I'm talking, as I said a minute ago, potentially runway. You need a location where you can land a plane which is solid.
Have you been watching Firefox again?
No, not Firefox. I'm talking about proper places like the North Pole, and the runway moves so many degrees, so many miles over a year. The runway does not appear at the start of the year where it finishes at the end of the year because of where it goes. So what I'm saying is, potentially, if you look at it, I believe the North, the South poles, which are places which are horrible to actually get to, you
couldn't find more inhospitable, environment, could you really? Exactly. And I would just like to say, there is no evidence that the Nazis built a huge bases there. They did go there. They carried out an expedition in 1938, and this was only one ship.
You got to remember, this was one ship. The Nazis did.
No, there's no evidence of that.
But not to the north.
But
they went south.
It was something to do with the goal of finding... No, it's actually Antarctica.
No, it was the south.
Okay, well, we have to disagree on that point. But it was to do with whaling. It was to do with the whaling industry. It was nothing to do with what we're talking about.
That's the thing. That is the thing. I'm not talking about governments trying to find a base where they can launch fucking... Sorry, excuse me.
Oh, and he's bombed it. He's bombed it.
God, contain yourself.
Oh, my God. But
okay, over to you guys while I bang my head against the wall. I'm not talking about a base where they're launching attacks. I'm talking about both sides. America, not saying Nazis, I want to say the other side. German, Italian, Russians, whatever at that particular moment in time. The other side to the war, between whatever. And the routes that went down from one country to the other. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about building.
But let's go back to the case in question, where the conspiracy theorists have found a cave on Google Maps and have said that this is to do with a massive underground city, and it even looks like a staircase. If you look at the article, everybody, it is the most tenuous, tiniest. I don't even know why they even bothered with this one. Yeah. And this is the problem I have with conspiracy theories.
There's one of those comes out every year. They go, ooh. And
but that's the problem. You put out the smallest, the littlest conspiracy little gem, and you throw it into a conversation, whether it's Hitler escaped Berlin or Kennedy was assassinated by more than one person, or, let's just say we didn't go to the moon, or all the major conspiracy theories around the world, and you throw that little bit of doubt into the conversation, you went, but hang on, did they do that, or did they do that? And people just sit there and go, no. Well, hang on, that's it.
But the problem with conspiracy theories is when you've got people like this looking at something like this cave thing, I mean, come on, surely there must be rational thought amongst the conspiracy theorists, surely. Because in this article, I'm looking at that, and I'm seeing natural cleaving. I'm seeing how ice
cleavage.
Acts. Do you know
natural
what I mean?
cleavage. I'll have some of that.
I'm just seeing how the ice shelf is moving, and it will open up, have openings. It will do this. It will do that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not seeing anything nefarious in that, but they've gone, underground base. Really?
No, Carrie. Because at the end of the day, what you've just said about underground base. There's reports, and it's reported, and it's literally down, and it's reported down on knowledge, and it's being going blah, 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 blah. The points where certain aeroplanes were going to that area, their flight path was going over, and then all of a sudden they disappeared. They then reappeared, and then they disappeared again over that area. And you can go on to different websites where you can see this, and certain flights suddenly was going over, and then all of a sudden they disappeared, and then they reappeared about an hour later. Is that showing they landed and then took off? Because every plane has a device which bleeps to wherever they're going. This is going back to major disasters like 9/11, where they tell when you get to a certain altitude, under 1,000 feet, you can't bleep up.
Oh, so got a bit of...
what is stopping these things travelling that way and then all of a sudden disappear out of sight, go under 1,000 feet, land, take off again and carry on going?
Wow.
Just my idea.
Maybe we should revisit the Hollow Earth theory. Maybe we should revisit that one, because there is still people believing Hollow Earth theory. The entrance to this is in the Arctic, I believe, north.
Could be worse. Yeah. It could be a few people, and then I would really start ranting and ranting.
Yeah, we're not even going to go on the flat Earth theory. We're not even going to go there on that one. I do find sometimes, though, with things like this, when I see articles like this, I do kind of think, oh, for God's sakes.
The problem is it just fuels the conspiracy theories.
It does, but... You know, I can understand conspiracy theories when it comes to things like we've talked about JFK before. I can understand why people would kind of sit on the fence in regards to the moon landing a little bit, and I can see the political side of that, and I can see, people's twisted belief systems in that. But I do think when you get stuff like this coming out in the media, that it really don't help their causes at all, because they're not looking at it logically at all. They're just jumping to an assumption without even looking at environmental or, anything scientific. They're just going, oh, big hole, it's not there now, it must be an underground base. Well, it's
Mark,
ridiculous.
Mark, what's your thoughts?
Well, I was just about to say, I don't see why there can't be something there. It's such a big, mainly unexplored place. There's probably stuff there from before the Ice Age that we don't know about. I mean, recently they've just discovered viruses from the Ice Age that we've never seen before, and they've thawed them out and they're doing testing on them. But there are various Air Force officers who have sworn that when they've been stationed over there, they have flown over the hole that a lot of people have talked about, and they over discs in there and things milling about building these machines. There's one recently that's in is it the Telegraph? Oh, the Express.
That's probably true then.
And he's an ex-US ex-US naval officer claims there is a secret alien base in Antarctica. And when he was stationed there between 83 and 97, they all knew about it and they've all seen these things here. But he's not the first, and he's certainly not the last person from the military who's going to say this.
No, so, and I have to say, it's not completely... it's not just because of those two places. You know what I mean? That's worldwide, Mark. You don't need to go all the way to Antarctica or the Arctic.
Exactly.
You have got some...
Look at the Chilean government.
Oh, let's not look at the Chilean government. Sorry.
No, I was just about to say, Chilean government. They've released this, that, and the other, saying that they've chased UFOs. They are this, they are the other, and they've been open about it. They haven't said, "Oh no, it doesn't exist." Blah blah blah. They're like, "Yeah, they're here. We've chased after them. What's the big deal about?" And they're the people I listen to. Because they're just saying, they're not saying it's aliens or aliens. They're saying there's something, and they're chasing after it. So go with them. Go with the South American Air Force, because they're telling the truth.
Right, because they are well known for telling the truth, aren't they? So let's talk about chasing after things that may or may not exist. Let's look into the cryptozoology. What do you like that? Do you like that link there? Smooth as ice, right? We're going to have a little look.
Smooth as a pterodactyl flying through my Jack Daniels cubes. Yes.
Mongolian death worms. People have chased after this particular crypto creature for many, many years. Never found any evidence of it. This is almost like the desert version of Bigfoot, right?
It's taken in tremors, literally. But I've watched several documentaries and programs on it. And I won't say it's the Mongolian death worm as per se, but I do think there's something out in that particular bit of the desert we haven't discovered yet. What it is, I don't know, but there's evidence that there is possibly something there.
Squashed face from my lovely Carl there. He doesn't agree with that one.
No, it's not on disagreeing, Mark, because I do agree with Mark on this one. There's something out there. Whether it's something out of Dune, whether it's that's an amazing film, whether it's the magic things that come out, whatever, is different. But there is weird stuff that's going out in these places which are not between towns and whatever, and there's this coming out, there's this, and the locals are saying this, that, and the other. I personally think it's worth having a look. Back it up.
Yeah.
Put the money behind it. Instead of thinking this, that, and the other about bridges and this, put the money behind it and have a look at these sort of things.
It's like we've said before, and when we've covered cryptozoology. Like we said before, cryptozoology. Every legend, every story, there has to be something there originally to start it, to spark it off in the first place. You know, like George and the Dragon, the Welsh dragons in Japan, China, and they're all over the world back in the mists of time. You know, and if you take things like that and all the other, how can I put it, dragony type things like Nessie and the other. There had to be something, whether it's died out, whether it was a megafauna like it used to have in Australia, don't know. But there had to have been something there originally to start the legend off. And when you wild places like Mongolia, like Antarctica and places like that, why can't you have things that have evolved or carried on growing and didn't get killed off, didn't die out, and because they've not been touched by man, they've had a chance to grow? Why can't there still be little things like that, little pockets of evolution that we don't know about? There's more and more stuff being discovered every year.
I totally agree with that. There is more stuff being discovered every year. And deserts, and there are two forms of deserts, that's hot and cold. So cold is obviously ice and snow. And sand is obviously the hot, and it actually covers 20%.
Is it?
Yeah. I know, right? Strange little fact there. I thought it'd be the
Ladies
other way
and gentlemen,
around, but yeah.
there you go. Snow is cold, sand is hot.
There's your profound thought for the night, everybody. But it does vary in depth, depending on where you go. Now, the deepest desert is actually the Sahara, and that is 141 feet. There's a little fact.
Sahara used to be green and lush.
And there were pockets that were green and lush.
Well, they also reckon that underneath a lot of the desert sands, writing numbers in the desert sand, el nombre. Anyway, they reckon that there's remains of hidden cities and stuff underneath there, don't they?
Well, yeah, when you see sandstorms and that, they're quite quite bad, really, aren't they? So anyway, right. I don't think there is such a thing as a Mongolian death worm.
I think there is something. I do think there's something because I've read. My thing is UFOs and cryptozoology. I've read a lot of things, watched a lot of documentaries and stuff, and there's always some sort of weird, like I won't say spider silk, but there's always what are those worms that produce silk? But something. Silkworms. Thank you. But there's always something similar to their silk found at places where these worms are supposed to have been. There's been a lot of that found, so I'm wondering if it's some sort of genus of that's mutated or just gone wild.
Carl.
Yes.
Do you think there could be a Mongolian death worm?
It's a tough one because I think it comes back to everything around the world. Urban myth, things that people see, natives of the land at that particular moment. Whether there's this massive worm that comes out, whatever, don't know. Not 100%.
Either that, or it was somebody saw one of my ancestors hanging around there, and they just didn't have a bottom half on. I'm not too sure. Also, is that what ate Boba Fett in Star Wars?
No idea. I think this is almost like the ghost story of the desert. He talking about Star Wars. I ain't got a clue about Star Wars. I've never watched it. So, could this just be like the ghost story of the desert? Big worm will come out, eat you, and spit venom at you, and it will kill you, and its venom is strong enough to melt metal and stuff, which isn't actually scientifically backed up. I would just like to say there's no venom that can melt metal. But, this worm does. No evidence
You
has
haven't
been
met
found.
my ex-brother-in-law, have you?
No evidence has actually been found of this creature, in the same way that no evidence has been found of a Bigfoot or a Yeti or a, abominable snowman, apart from maybe a few footsteps that are shady, to say the least. So are we that desperate for new discoveries that we have to make stuff up over the years?
No, I don't
or
think
is it just myths and legends?
I don't think it's making stuff up because 3 years ago they found skeleton remains in Argentina, which linked into Homo sapien routine, right, which they then realised it was a different type of Homo whatever.
Sapien?
No. Homo sapien is obviously good, like humans, but they look at the different areas of
was it
that.
Right. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
I was just saying.
They
found this and they found that, and then all of a sudden they
I'm just sitting back watching these two.
They thought there was like 7 different types of this structure that turned into human, and then they found another one. But there'd been these also reports in North America of finding skeletons that didn't rely to that. So are they saying that is another link? And every scientist is saying, well, technically there's only 6, but there's another one which we're looking at. But potentially there's this one over here and all this sort of stuff. So are we looking at
Darwinism is where you're going with that.
Yeah,
It's
but
an
Darwinism
evolution
is
of a creature,
Darwinism.
isn't it?
Darwinism is a structure which is this, that, and the other. I'm talking about evolution, where potentially you could have. Okay, I'm going to give in a scenario where you got 4 different people doing 4 different things. All of a sudden, one lives in the wetlands, one lives in the north, one lives in the cold, one lives in the wet. So all of a sudden, as they move through life, the ones in the wet suddenly become webbed, ones in the cold suddenly become
Hairy.
warm, hairy.
You're talking about me again.
Yeah, exactly. You go through every single one. They all come from the same species, but they then progress to different areas.
Yeah, so they've evolved according to their environment, basically, is where we're going with that, isn't it? I just want to refer to the chat room because that is going on a little bit now. James again has said that a lot of creatures got smaller over the millennium.
I'll tell you what, whoever's in the chat room, thank you very much for commenting. Love your comments, but it's like wagon wheels.
Oh, we've gone from Johnson's
No.
Robinson's even to
when I was young, wagon wheels were one size, and they kept on saying wagon wheels haven't changed, but now wagon wheels are small. So it's like wagon wheels.
It just reminded me, I've got 2 cream eggs.
Okay.
I need to get them out.
There are now over 10 types of humanoids over the last 3 million years, and they are discovering more things as we find. We're seeing more and more things of discovery, not just in environments that are vibrant, but in things like places like the Arctics and stuff like that. And it is cooler under the sand, so it is logical. There's, we know snakes and lizards take refuge.
They're not wearing dark glasses and baseball caps,
and burrow under the sands because it's cooler. So, yeah, I agree with that point. And the lovely Sam says if they did exist, they could be mutant snakes, which is actually in the article that we were looking at, which I'm not even going to bother to share because I've lost it, to be fair. That was one of the things that, or you could just share it into the chat room for the guys, Mark. And again, surely if there was such a thing, would it not have to be biological? It has to conform to. When we talked about big-assed spiders, there was only a certain level that they could get to because of their physiology. I know. Because their physiology. So there was only a certain size that scientists reckon that they could go to because of their breathing systems and stuff like that. So unless they've evolved beyond that, which again, that's another thing that people have talked about, in the Amazonian forests and, places like that have never ever been discovered yet. There are, if you look at, in the local villages and stuff, they still talk about these, myths of big spiders. We're not talking just like, what we know, we're talking size of a small car kind of size spider, like really big.
We used to have megafauna. I shared the link for the Mongolian Death Worm in the
that was
chat
a long
room.
time ago now, and we don't have anything big apart from the blue whale. That's the biggest thing on Earth, isn't it? Mammal?
Australia used to have megafauna up until the mid-1800s, and it's been proved that they did. And there's still some pockets, they think, of a particular type of giant iguana floating about there as well. So, but things like the death worm and stuff like that, it goes back to it's an pretty much untouched place where something that goes back a long time ago could still have had the chance to grow. Because, places where man hasn't gone along go, do you know what, I'm going to muck that up. Things have had a chance to carry on living, so why not?
Interesting fact, yeah. Genghis Khan would have been buried in the Mongolian desert somewhere, and they don't know where. They've never discovered his grave because of the way they they bury people in that area.
And
something
that is fact or scientific that 90% of every human being on this planet can relate themselves back to Genghis Khan.
It's about 70% of all humans have got DNA that's sent back to Genghis Khan. Yeah.
Oh, I kind of thought that was Jesus as well.
No, because he put it about.
Oh, he put it about a bit.
You know,
Did he?
He well and truly put it about.
Genghis Khan?
Were
Oh,
the
Genghis
women
Khan.
winning, or was he just like...
No, Genghis
It's
Khan.
definitely women. He didn't go both ways.
He liked to give it strong and hard.
Ooh.
Genghis Khan in the background having a board meeting going.
He
Right,
had his. I tell you what, me and Mark probably agree with this. Genghis Khan probably had his own theme tune.
Yeah.
He was well and truly, you know,
Like
doing
a pure
good.
Hollywood
You know, something out of Shaft or whatever. He was giving it. He was giving it the well and true. Yeah, this guy would just like turn up and go, I'm taking over the country. Who's yours? Who's you? I'm Genghis Khan. Chang chang wang wang.
We've got, as you can see, everybody, we've gone right off on a tangent on that one.
No,
Now,
it's not a tangent, but
exhibitions
and
to
minions
far-flung places across the globe searching for these crypto cases are still well known to this day. Will they ever find evidence of the Mongolian Death Worm? Remains to be seen. Gangster Khan.
I think Mongolian Death Worm, you talk about snakes. Now,
I definitely think... I definitely think there should be... I'm going to keep talking. I think there definitely should be a Hollywood style soundtrack to certain points in history that should actually start playing out of the ether somewhere.
Dang, dang, wang, wang.
Which is near Mongolia. They had Titanoboa, and they had legends of these massive snakes in certain rivers going back to as close as 200 years ago. Because it's part of the East and this, that, and the other, why can't there be things like the Mongolian worm, death worm? Mongolian death worm, by the way, is it something that comes along and kills you? Or is it something that comes along and goes, hey, what? Can't hear you. What is it? We don't know. But that could be left over. It could be a remnant or something like that.
I think it's very tricky sometimes because the governments and that aren't always very forthcoming in allowing expeditions to go and explore things. I mean, even if you look at Egypt, they've really clamped down on scientists and archaeological research going on out there for whatever reason. You know, so I do think sometimes political agenda restricts discovery because they do stop things, you know, people going on expeditions to sort things out. So I do think that's something to do with it. And Mongolia is notoriously bad for allowing people, archaeologists and stuff, to go and do their biz, you know.
Oh, apparently, according to Carl, Mr. Khan himself was doing his bit regularly and hard and fast. Yes, OG Khan in the house.
Well, there was a thing that appeared. We're talking about modern news, and
it didn't appear in Fortnum and Masons.
No. I'm talking about something that appeared within the last 4 or 5 hours on social media about paranormal, about this, that, and the other. And
what have I missed?
No. We've sort of covered it, but they're talking about alien sightings around the world shortly before things that happen in the world, such as tsunamis, such as earthquakes, such as this, that, and the other. And there is a report that is just launched, I think this morning, from some university in America, where they looked at fault lines, not just in America, we're talking across the world. So I think they said in the US there's like 5 different fault lines, major fault lines, from one coast to the other. And every time there has been a motion in the fault lines, there has been a build-up alien sighting or UFO sightings before that. And then you spin that out to Europe. So you're looking at Russia, you're looking at Egypt, you're looking at Japan as well. And there has also been a major sighting of UFOs before a major incident.
Yeah.
Documented. We're talking everything you want is documented. Mark I know that because I can see you fucking nodding like a
Yeah.
noddy dog on a whatever.
Back of a car?
Back of a car.
That'll be the
You're
one.
seeing that as well, aren't you?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what he's talking about. There
And this
has
only
been...
happened in the last few hours.
No, and that theory has been around for a little while, that, UFOs are interesting. However, I will go back
Kerry, it has, but within the last 4 or 5 hours, there was a speech from an American university that timeline major disasters and major sightings of UFOs. And each of the sightings of UFOs tied into 2 or 3 hours of a major disaster.
But I will go back to...
There's no but.
But there is.
Can't
There's
say
got
but.
to be. Of course
There's no
there is.
but.
Yeah, but what is classed as a UFO sighting could be skylights. And we've also found...
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm holding Kerry's coat as we speak.
No, you've had yours say. It's my turn. We've also had a recent scientific discovery regarding sky trumpets that is actually acoustically from the Earth movement against our thing. So you can't turn around and say it's aliens or UFOs. It could be something that we
noises.
just haven't.
I'm not saying... You're talking about alien trumpets, which is noises which you can put down to all sorts of things like...
It's been scientifically looked at and it's been proven now. So what people are saying in regards to UFO... No, but people were saying it was paranormal before scientists looked at it.
I'm not saying that.
And then now you're saying that before every major disaster...
I am not saying that.
No, you're saying that there are UFO sightings before every major disaster. And I'm saying it could just be something that science hasn't explained yet, like skylights or something like that.
Which I agree with you, but the noises that you're talking about has been proven this, that and the other. I'm talking about sightings of craft either going into earthquakes, volcanoes.
And I'm saying you've got to look at what those sightings are. It's one thing saying sightings, but who made the sightings? Let's see the evidence for that. And there isn't any, apart from someone saying, I saw a spacecraft. And it's not necessarily a spacecraft. It could be misidentification.
In the last, like I said, in the last 48 hours, I can see Mark jumping up and down. He agrees. he agrees. But in the last 24 hours, there has been stuff that's been posted that shows a particular volcano erupted in Asia, where it's erupted, and there is... How do I put this? There is video footage from multiple different things where you see lights going up and they're into the volcano. And then the volcano going... Mark?
It's the same volcano there were sightings the same last year and the year before and the year before that, and it's gradually each year there's been more and more from this particular
they've proved that the volcano is erupting. And it's doing everything a volcano does. And they have these cameras on the side of the crate or whatever you want to call that look and check it and heat all these sort of things that you do scientific. And there you can see clearly there's these 5 or 6 lights that shoot up and then shoot straight back down. And then the volcano goes...
Wow. You know what I feel about video footage? On that, we have actually come to the end of the day's gritting his teeth and shaking his head at me, this one. On that note, we have actually come to the end of the Dark Mirror show for this week. We have taken you on a whistle-stop tour of his banging his head and everything. This is where we really do come up against loggerheads. On that one, thanks very much, guys. Interesting discussions as always tonight.
I sat back, drank me Jack Daniels, and just watched these two and went, oh, wait. By the way, that joke about eating Boba Fett was from my daughter, Taylor.
All right. Okay. On Saturday, 8 p.m, our lovely Sam Mason goes live in the Facebook group page to do her presenter Q&A. So if you've got anything you'd like to ask our lovely Sam, that is where you need to be tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Then on Sunday evening, there is a special interview. I am back in the studio with the lovely Andy Mercer talking all about a Jungian term of the collective unconscious and archetypal types, which people have bandied about in the paranormal for a little while now. And on that one, say goodnight, guys.
Good night, guys. Oh, God. Back to your corners now, please.
I'd just like to say thank you very much. It's been a beautiful time. Thank you very much. Kerry, Mark,
Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
And on that note, it's a good night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.